All right, what is going on, guys? And welcome to this edition of the Whatever Podcast. And I got two guests with me here today. So, Aceman Analysis once again here with me. And the reason I came up with this idea for doing the interview because we had a conversation after our last podcast, and we were just talking about YouTubers, favorite YouTubers we watch, and this man that we're going to be doing an interview with here today, he was a guy along with Born to Corrupt 9 to 5. Those are two guys that I've been really watching, especially since the pandemic, because that's when I first found out about Born to Corrupt, and the things they say just resonate with me. So give a warm welcome to Life is Overrated 96. Thank you for spending some time with us. I know that you probably have a busy schedule.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on here. Born in a Corrupt 9 to 5, yeah, he's a pretty good channel. He was one of the people that inspired me to start my own channel.
Yeah, when did you find out about Born to Corrupt? Because I found out about him during the pandemic, because it's just something about the pandemic that just, I think it applies to a lot of people where you just reflect on life more because it's way different than what normally our lives would have been during that time.
Yeah, there was a lot of mayhem going on, especially around that time with the pandemic and the riots going on. Um, Luckily, I didn't have to deal with any issues as far as like COVID or the riots. I was pretty much unaffected by both. I found Born in a Corrupt 9 to 5, I'd say like about a year ago.
Yeah, so when you came up with the idea to make a YouTube, did you have any nerves or were you just thinking, I just want to say my piece and you didn't really feel any nerves to it at all?
Yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to do a YouTube channel for many years now. I've been on YouTube, not making videos, but just on the platform since around 2007 or 8. And I've watched a lot of content creators, and I always wanted to kind of do something, but I never knew what I wanted to do. I didn't want to create content that was disingenuous to myself. So I remember just thinking, like, what is something I could do where I could turn all this like all these frustrations and negativity into something a little more constructive. So when I seen Born in a Corrupt 9 to 5 and he was saying these things, and I watched two other channels around that time, Sean Goley and Tia Rose, and they were saying very similar things. I'm like, well, if people are willing to listen to these people, I mean, why don't I just give it a shot? So that's kind of how it went down.
Yeah, so what would you say were your expectations when you first decided to come up with your channel?
Just to kind of vent. That was really it. I didn't think I was gonna be like a million subscribers or anything. I didn't really think a lot of people would listen to me anyways, because it's just quote unquote complaining.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is I'm the Aceman Analysis, and why did you first why did you choose the name Life is Overrated, and why do you have your logo as a backwards smiley face?
Funny enough, so the name Life is Overrated comes from a song from this rap group called Suicide Boys, and they essentially talk about suicide. They talk about drug use, anxiety, depression, and around that time, I was going through a lot of depression, anxiety. I was drinking kind of heavy. Um, Started smoking weed again around then. So it just kind of resonated with me. They had this song, it's 122 Days. That's the title of it. And in it, he said, I want to quit. Life is overrated as shit. And during this time, with all these issues I was having going on, I was still trying to cling on to like, man, like maybe I'm just not like seeing the bigger picture. Like life must be really great, and maybe something's wrong with me. But then that line just kept resonating with me. I'm like, this life is kind of overrated. Like you got to do all this shit you don't want to do,
Mm.
and you're just like forced here. And then like if you don't want to do it, it's basically like be homeless or be in prison or kill yourself. So that's kind of how I came up with the name. As far as the upside down happy face, it was kind of just like stuff I was seeing as far as like Suicide Boys and death metal groups. They always have like pentagrams and upside down crosses. And I was like, what if I just did like a happy face, but it was upside down and it had like tattoos on his face?
That's really cool. And like as for some of your content, I noticed like some of your videos you do like mostly some of them are just like direct talks, and then there's others where you do you know, like your skits where you have like HR Harold or Harry the Hustler or Ollie the Old Man. So like how did
Yeah.
you what was the inspiration behind some of these characters?
So the first one I ever created, I think it was either Positive Peter or Harry the Hustler. And I forget which one I created first, but Positive Peter was kind of like this guy who's just happy no matter what happens, you know, just kind of oblivious to all the negativity in the world, you know. So I wanted to just create a character who kind of embodied this super positive individual that's just kind of oblivious to everything. And then Harry the Hustler, um, maybe like 2 years prior to me starting the channel, I was going through a self-help thing where I was reading all these books, listening to all these guys. So after that kind of fell off, I was like, what if I just made fun of a guy who's like always working? Like he doesn't sleep, he doesn't eat, like he doesn't see his wife. He's just always working and he's always bragging about money, you know? So that was kind of the inspiration for that one. And then
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah. So, who are some guys that came to mind specifically when you made the Harry the Hustler guy? Because when you made that character, I'm thinking of a guy like a Gary V, Andrew Tate. Well, he kind of like blew up after you made that character. But who are some guys that you thought of when you came up with the Harry the Hustler character?
Oh yeah, Gary V is you know, he's a pretty funny character. Some of the things he does say are pretty relatable though, like not wanting to work for somebody, and you know, you don't have to have things figured out by a certain age. So I can respect certain things that Gary V says, but this whole toxic hustle culture, some of the guys who I would say it's kind of inspired by is Patrick Bedette. He's on YouTube. I forget what the channel he had, but he had a channel where he was always talking about working and starting your own business, and he spoke very fast, and people kind of made this joke like he did cocaine. Um, and then the big, pretty much one of the biggest inspirations, I guess, for Harry the Hustler is Grant Cardone.
All right. And this is specifically for one of your skits that you made for a Positive Peter video. It was one where he he killed the woman that not only got an abortion but had premarital sex. So why did Positive Peter go to that extreme and go on like the I guess the serial killer arc of his character?
Well, I wanted to do something a little more extreme and try to do something a little different. Kind of like the bank robbery video where, you know, he's just watching everybody get killed and he's okay with it. He's oblivious to it. And it's kind of like, well, Peter's okay with this stuff, I guess, because God says it's okay. So I guess I took it on that path because Peter just does whatever the Lord tells him. So if God says go kill this person, he's like, whatever you say, Lord, you can do no wrong.
Yeah, when I, when I was thinking about you doing that video, I was thinking about like how and I don't know what it was, like Mayans or something like that, where they have these whacked out things where they killed a baby in the name of God or something like that. Did that come to your mind when you came up with that skit?
No, actually, no. I was like, what's something that would be like kind of like ridiculous, you know? So,
And who was like the inspiration behind Positive Peter? Was there like a YouTuber, anyone in particular, or was it just like a society at large?
I guess, yeah, kind of society at large, you know, everybody, anytime you say anything, that's quote unquote, negative or complaining, and by definition, complaining is to be dissatisfied and annoyed. It's not necessarily being negative or being hate-filled, but I mean, there's a lot in life to be dissatisfied and annoyed by. And anytime you try to bring up these conversations, everybody's like, that's just being negative, you know? So I was like, these people are just kind of delusional in their own positivity. They don't really want to discuss legitimate subjects. So I don't know. I just was like, what's a character that's like always in a good mood and he doesn't want to hear anything negative, you know? So
Mhm.
nobody in particular.
Yeah, so what are some real life experiences you've had with positive Peters or positive Patricias?
Um, I mean, I try to think of some off the top of my head, but it's been situations where I'm at work and it's just like, man, this is all we do is work, and you make chump
Yeah.
change, and then it's like,
Mm.
if you want to go to college, that's a lot of money. It's just like, and people are like, man, you need to just calm down and just relax. You got to stop that thinking. And it's like, thinking what? It's like the truth, you spend your whole
Mm.
life at work, but you only live one life. They tell you to live it to the fullest, but then the second you say, I don't know, you want a new TV, and it's like, oh, you should just be grateful for what you have. Or, like if you want to go scuba diving or something, somebody's like, and you just need to be happy you even have a job. It's like, but you should be living your life to the fullest. So, which is it?
Yeah, so a thing that is really talked about a lot on your channel, antinatalism. So, how would you explain antinatalism to people that aren't really familiar with that term? Because I wasn't familiar with that term until I started watching your channel, actually.
Yeah, antinatalism is the view that procreation is morally wrong.
And
And
oh, go ahead.
oh, go ahead.
When would you say was your earliest like memory of not just like antinatalism, but just you having these thoughts, questioning the system, thinking that a 9 to 5 is just ridiculous? What would you say is your earliest memory of just questioning everything that people say you just have to accept in life?
Um, well, it was probably, I would say around like 12, 13. I'd probably say around 13. Um, I always hated school, and by the time I hit the sixth grade, I said, I'm not going to finish high school. I'm going to definitely drop out. And everybody around me was telling me, like, you're not going to be able to get a good job. You got to worry about your education. And I just kept going through school. I'm like, I'm not really learning anything new. It's just kind of the same old shit, but just worded differently. So I knew I was going to drop out of school. And by 15, well, it started, I guess, around 13. So I started stealing. The first time I ever stole was at a book fair. Me and a bunch of buddies stole some stuff. And then I was at a Walmart with one of my friends, and his mom was stealing cat food. And I was like, well, shit, I want to take something too. And she's like, you can do whatever you want. I'm like, yeah, I guess I can. So I shoplifted from probably like the age of 13 to about 19. And when I turned 15, that's kind of where I just started not really caring anymore. So not on top of the shoplifting, I was smoking weed, drinking, doing graffiti. And then in the summer when I was 15, I had a bad experience with, well, I guess it could be a good experience depending on how you look at it, but um, I essentially I had a panic attack while I was smoking weed, and it caused me to have psychosis essentially. So I felt like life wasn't real. I always felt I was having panic attacks every day, really high strung, having a lot of anxiety, and that's really where I just started questioning everything. And around that time, I turned into an atheist because I was questioning God and I was questioning all these different things. So it was around 15, I guess you could say, when it really was kind of like that pinpoint moment where I was just really questioning things.
Ace man, you want to ask your question?
Yeah, that sounds interesting though that you like just some of your decisions and then later on with that one experience with weed, how that kind of made you become more of a questioner, you know. And for you, did you ever like think like when you were a kid that you were gonna like question maybe your belief system and society around you, or were you always, or did you like see this like as a natural like pattern, and it just like that day when you were 15, that was the day that it like changed?
When I was a kid, I did ask a lot of questions, and I just always thought things didn't really make sense. I guess you could kind of say like I always felt like something was off, but you're still young, so you're just kind of looking around, and you're like, well, I guess if this is what everybody else is doing, that's what I do too. So, yeah, I guess from somewhat of a young age, I was kind of like that, but I didn't really know any better.
And from your thoughts on antinatalism, how have people perceived you? Have you been perceived in like the wrong light, do you see, or do you think that people are just not judgmental of your opinion?
Um, I've had people come on my channel and say certain things, and it's just like I'll try to ask them, well, like, if you disagree, like, what's a non-selfish reason to have kids, or why would you want to subject somebody to this existence? And it always comes back to just they just want to have a kid. They don't really care about the consequences. And when I ask what's a non-selfish reason, I've heard other people say this. I've seen it online so many times, and I just never see an answer for it. So I'm sure some people see it as maybe me trying to be like a dick or something, but it's not. It's like I think we should really question this idea of bringing kids here. I mean, the world has always been a terrible place. I mean, there's good things and there's bad things, but to me, from my own perception, there's um, more negatives than pros. Um, I had a guy recently at work. He's a Christian, and he found out that I was going to be getting a vasectomy. And he's like, yeah, but don't you want to mini me? And he kind of goes on this whole spiel about having kids. And I'm just like, to each their own. That's your opinion. And I just know what I want to do. So he didn't really treat me like crap or anything. So um, I guess he respected my opinion because, he's like, well, what if you want a kid later in life? And I said, well, I guess if I really absolutely wanted to have a kid, I would just adopt. But I don't even really want to have kids of my own or even adopt, really.
That's interesting with antinatalism too, because I've noticed that like within the past 20 years, there's become like a real academic discipline with like different interdisciplinary studies between anti-natalism and climate change and demographics and ethics. Do you think that with this diversification of the field of antinatalism, do you think that there'll be more antinatalists in the future?
Um, it depends, I guess. I know some people they don't really want to call themselves antinatalist. I know I get shit from certain people too because I technically, you know, the antinatalism is against procreation. So they'll be like, well, you still eat meat, so you're contributing to the breeding of animals. And then you got certain people that are like, but you still, if you participate in sex, that's not this. And it's like, look, I just don't want to bring a kid here. Um, in the future, I mean, things are getting worse every day, and it's with the inflation, it's with just crime, just everything we see going on around us in the present moment. If that doesn't wake people up, I don't know what is. But I can definitely see more people smartening up, especially with access to the internet.
Yeah, so a thing that people, especially like baby boomers, they say, "Oh, people don't want to work nowadays." So what do you think it's about like millennials or Gen Zers that makes these baby boomers come up with that idea that we don't want to work nowadays? When, in my opinion, it's just that we notice that this system is ridiculous the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think at least it seems more open where Gen Z and millennials and maybe even certain Gen X just started to question things and just didn't accept whatever they were being told. Back in the day, if you were to say things like this, you probably get, smacked across the face or punished somehow. But I think people are becoming more open and things are becoming a little bit more lenient. So you also have to take in consideration back in the day, I mean, you could work at like, I don't know, a grocery store and buy a house and have multiple cars.
Mhm.
I mean, if I work at a grocery store and I'm making minimum wage, I'm gonna need government insurance, food stamps. Like I couldn't need probably bear, I would probably just be making it to pay rent. So it's not like back in the good old days when you could have like two cars, five kids, three dogs, a swimming pool, you know, go on vacation like two times a year. The value of the dollar keeps going down every day, but it doesn't seem like there's any plan to fix this issue.
Yeah, the thing people say is just that politics or or that politicians they're not really doing anything to help us. But then when somebody that's more like out of the box when it comes to their political ideology, such as Bernie Sanders or Andrew Yang, when they go for office, they're not the one that that's the one that they're not the one that's finishing off like against Donald Trump, for example. So why do you think that it's that way, even though people complain about how these politicians don't do anything for us?
I'm not really big into politics. So I don't really follow any of the stuff that goes on. I think the biggest mistake for most people is actually believing these politicians are going to do anything. I think they're just there for images. They're just there to promote a certain narrative, and that's it. I don't personally believe voting matters. I think the system is set up just to keep everybody down, and these public figures are just there to kind of smile and wave and tell you what you want to hear. But I mean, I guess why don't these people want to follow these other individuals that actually have something intelligent to say and actually want to put plans into action? Um, I couldn't even honestly tell you. They're probably indoctrinated from all the people around them.
Do you think
Yeah,
that?
now,
Oh, my bad.
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Do you think that like the living standard in the US will ever improve? Do you think that things like incentives, corporate social responsibility, things like that that can improve, you know, living wages and just the working experience for workers? Do you think that if those ever were to improve, that people would be more willing to work and that there wouldn't be issues such as quiet quitting or other issues that where people don't really want to work minimum wage jobs because they can't afford it?
Yeah, I mean, if there's more of an incentive, if we can fix this inflation issue, or even if it's not just like things are going to be expensive, so be it. But if you got to work two full-time jobs just to afford a place to live, that's a problem. So if they can fix that and they can maybe lower prices in certain areas, I think people won't don't mind working. Um, you know, some people they can just get by. Other people like me, I go to work, but it's just I'm just it's hard for me to just do something I don't want to do all day. I don't really it's something that just gets to me every day. Some people, I think a majority of people, if they fix those issues that you mentioned, I think things could work out a lot better. But I don't know. For me personally, I really can't stand going to work. I mean, I know that sounds very typical, but like just waking up every day and spending 95% of your day doing something you don't want to do. I mean, your whole day consists of you being at work. So for me, that just really gets under my skin, um, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah. Do
When
you
it
think
comes to your
uh,
views, or you want to ask something?
oh no, you can go and ask.
Okay, when it comes to just your views in general with anti-natalism and you being against this 9 to 5 system, how does it affect your relationships with the people closest to you?
So pretty much the closest person I have to me is my fiance, and she's pretty understanding of it. Um, I've told my mom and dad how I feel. I've talked to them about how I feel that bringing people here is selfish, and yeah, my parents are pretty unreceptive to anything I've ever really said anyway, so it didn't really surprise me. Um, I maybe actually I know one guy at work, and I guess he would be considered an antinatalist, even though he has a kid. But he had told me like if he could go back, he's like I would have never brought my kid here. He's like I love my son, but I knowing what I know now, I wouldn't have done it. So only have really two people I can talk to. Everybody else, when I try to talk to things, when I try to talk about certain subjects, I keep it very surface level because most people they're not really trying to hear this anyways.
Now, going back to work, you mentioned in one of the videos that like people are becoming simps to their employers because they don't see that, you know, every single day, you know, they work 9 to 5, 9 to 5, 9 to 5, and how much of a percentage that is over their life, like their livelihoods. When do you think people will actually come to this realization that um, there really isn't a lot of ability to like move upward when there's things like inflation and other market effects that are going to impact their lives?
Yeah, I don't know when that'll change. People have been so indoctrinated to just be a good working slave. If you're not working, you're basically seen as trash. You're seen as filth. I know somebody that doesn't work, and they've been treated really disrespectfully. I mean, people are like, why don't you work? Why don't you do this? Well, you got to do this, and because of their own personal reasons, they can't work. And it's just like the way I see people treat them. It's like, why would you want somebody to spend 95 to 96 to 98% of their day at work? Um, what I tried saying moments ago, sometimes I have a little difficulty articulating my thoughts, but it's like, yeah, even though you can fix some of these issues with inflation and money, it's the fact remains you spend a majority of your life at work. I mean, you live one life. You know, you think that with everybody saying you should live it to the fullest, that the focus wouldn't be on us being at work all the time, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah, I just wanna point this out because we're talking about all this, but yeah, I'm just thinking like my uncle, for example, he's retired at I can't believe it. Some people would consider a young age, but with the way retirement is, it's a joke when it comes to the age that you will retire at. But he's retired at a quote unquote young age because not due to his own terms. It's more so because he's not able to work anymore because he suffered an injury. And with my mom, I mentioned about this in the comments section of your videos. So she's she's really not she's really not, or it's not in an ideal world. It's not the best idea for her to go back to work, but it's such a joke with the because she has to file for disability or short-term disability due to the injury she suffered from the car accident she had. So it just makes me think we're just viewed as we're just viewed for what we do, not really who we are as people. Or like with my mom, for example, her injuries, it's just giving her even more hassle or than what she's already dealing with. I just want to share that because we're talking about your views on life. So it, and that's why someone like you are born corrupt. That's why you guys resonate with me.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It's like if you, again, like if you're not working, they just treat you like you're a piece of garbage and you're just no longer good for society. Yeah, it's really messed up. You know, you could suffer an injury and it's just like you're treated like filth by even the system. Like, oh, how
Yeah.
dare you be injured? Like, oh,
Mhm.
how dare you? Like you're a
Oh
robot or
yeah.
something.
Exactly. And it'd be that way, not even with severe injuries, but it could be you're feeling, let's just say, for example, you're feeling sick a couple of times during the month. Oh, really? You can't be, and they'll act like it's an absurd thing. You really can't be sick 2 times this month. Are you serious? And you said in one of your videos, if I'm not feeling good, I'm not feeling good. I'm a human at the end of the day.
Yeah. There's been times where I've been really overwhelmed at work and I'm having some like bad anxiety. Depression I can kind of work around, but anxiety, I've had some real bad anxiety. And I'm like, I just want to get up and leave because, you know, if you tell them like, hey, I'm having anxiety, they're gonna look at you like, what the hell are you talking about? You know, it's almost
Mm.
like you know, you're just goofing off or something. But that's another thing too is mental issues are really overlooked too. If you're depressed or you got anxiety, that's a joke to them. They don't even care.
Yeah, you bringing that up, that just makes me think. So apparently we have, and it is true that mental health has become less stigmatized. Just even me looking back 10 years ago, I've seen progress with the way mental health gets viewed, but the workplace, I don't think it's really changed when it comes to how they view mental health.
You would think that, especially right now, with so many young people, especially on different type of medications, that it would be pretty open, but it's like they really don't care. The only thing they care about is you showing up and performing your duties for them, making them more money. They could give a damn about you. They could, I mean, if it were legal for you to show up with your leg torn off by a bear or something, they would absolutely do it. they would be cool with you showing up to work with your leg bitten off.
That just shows like how I think like out of touch I think corporations are and companies are that are profit seeking to their employees, because it shows you that a lot of them just care more about the business that they do and not the lives that are impacted by their decisions and with the functions that these people have to do. And it just shows you that it's really sad how this job, well, just even just in general, just the work environment in general, is like that, because it shows you that they don't view humans as humans; they view them as like liabilities that are working for them. So that's interesting that you two just brought that up, but it just made me think of that because it's really disappointing to hear that.
Yeah, it's truly nefarious. And there's no doubt in my mind that they know how truly nefarious it is. I don't know if you guys recall, but I don't know if you both live in the U.S., but I think it was like in Kentucky or something like that last year. A tornado was coming towards Amazon, and the managers were like, "You guys can't leave. If you guys leave, you're fired." And like multiple people died during that process.
Wow.
Um, I heard about it on maybe like in passing on like YouTube and maybe like on the news. My fiance watches the news. I never watch it because I just can't stand it. But you didn't hear any big like riots, or you didn't hear anybody protesting. You didn't hear like Amazon coming out and apologizing. It was like, oh yeah, we're sorry, but anyways, we got more packages to deliver, you know.
Mm. I do remember that story. And I do remember just like that whole that there were people that were killed in that and injured in that. That was horrible. I do recall that though. That was the big tornado in Kentucky. Now I know that you made a video recently on immigration and just life in the US in general. And I know that you mentioned that you lived in Peru, Argentina, Thailand were a few countries that you've been to and lived in. Do you think that a simpler life, meaning maybe a life where it's less focused on the materialistic things, would make maybe would change your viewpoint on the U.S.?
Um, yeah, I mean, I guess to a degree it could. If it weren't for like rent being so expensive and certain things, I could foresee myself in the future being more minimalistic. Me and my fiance were actually talking about that yesterday. So, you know, as certain living situations as we get older, where maybe like you live in a 55 and up community and they go by your income or something, and you can only make certain amount a year. So I was thinking like, what if I just, because I have a job that pays a lot more than minimum wage at the moment, and I was like, what if I just like got some, I don't know, a pretty basic job like working at Walmart, and I took a major pay cut, and it was just more of a simple life. The neighborhood was more um, clean. It wasn't so violent. Like, yeah, I could see certain viewpoints changing, um, maybe for me personally, but I think overall, um, there's a lot of issues in this country that need to be addressed.
Mm-hmm.
Since you brought up about what happened with the Amazon workers dying and no one protesting about that, what do you think it would take for people to get out there and say enough is enough when it comes to this system just exploiting us and not viewing us as people?
Yeah, I had somebody I think come on my channel one time, and they're like, you come on here and you say these things, but I don't see you out there with signs and this and that. I'm like, I mean, there's a movement, Stop Having Kids, and they hold signs and they talk to people, and I think that's great. I really like what they do, but me personally, and I'm not trying to encourage anything. I'm not saying I would do anything because I won't. I mean, but I see the only way that change is going to come is like with some real violence. And it's unfortunate that has to come to that, but I don't think that people just shaking their fist is going to really do anything because the government's just going to laugh. We've seen it in the past where like segregation between whites and blacks, it took violence, and it's unfortunate it has to come to that because humans have been around for millions of years, and modern evolution has been around for like I don't know 200,000 years, I believe. I mean, it shouldn't even be like that, but I don't think that us just going out there and be like, "Hey, we're just tired of the system, man." They're gonna be like, "Yeah, that's cool. Let's pepper spray them all,"
Yeah, you brought up evolution, it's been something I've been thinking about. I've been pondering and I've been wondering what you think about it. Do you think that if we never did evolve, we might have been better off?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that the conscious ability that we have can both be a blessing in a way, but also it's like a major curse. I said this on a post one time, and it's like the reason we are the way we are with certain depression and certain anxiety, um, we're bored, is because once you have food, once you have shelter, it's kind what else is there really to life? Once you're eating and surviving, it's kind of like a house cat. Once they're inside and they're eating and they have shelter, what else do they do? They kind of lounge around, they fall asleep, and so this conscious that we have can just be tormenting because it's like, damn, I'm really just here for like 80 something years maybe, and it's like, why am I here? I don't want to do these things, but the difference between a house cat and me and you is we have to go to work, we have to have health insurance, or we get penalized. And if you don't participate in certain things, they'll put you in prison. So it's like, um, I think the conscious ability that we have is in many ways a curse.
Wow. That it is true because I think like if we realize the powers of our thoughts and our words and just our actions too, there's a lot more complexities that come with it. And that is that is something that's kind of alarming because we could be conscious of the things that we do and the things that we say, and just in general, if we were maybe not as evolved as we once were, it would maybe make it so that life wouldn't be as complex or as challenging or as maybe unenjoyable as it is because we wouldn't think of it that way.
Yeah. Uh, and like, don't get me wrong, it's not all about being negative. I mean, there are things that I enjoy, like certain music and, certain wordplay with like rap music. It's like, oh, that's really cool. But it's like, certain movies are really cool. Um, Me and my fiance seen Jaws today from 1975, and they had it in 3D, and it's like, yeah, it's cool how we can, play with our eye vision to get these special effects. Like certain things are pretty cool, but I think overall, it's like it's just there's a lot of nonsense that comes with it too.
Why do you think that the system became the way that it is right now?
Um, just greed. That also goes back to our conscious ability. People are just, they're so full of themselves, so pretentious, and just so hungry for power. I mean, you got people out here, they're billionaires. Their great grandchildren are going to be set for life, and there's and they have companies. You know, like let's say I have a company and I'm a billionaire, and my great grandchildren would be taken care of. But I'm like, you know what? I don't care if I'm screwing over employees. I don't care if a tornado comes towards my warehouse and kills employees. I don't care about that. I want more money. It's like, dude, I mean, you have enough money for like 200, 300 years. So it's just greed and just people being full of themselves, just people being shitty people. And I'd also say it also is because people are so indoctrinated. They're so okay with the okey doke, going to work every day. They don't question anything. If everybody in America, everybody in any other country got up today and said, we're tired of this system, let's do something about it, something's going to happen. But when everybody's just so feckless or just too oblivious, I mean, what can be done, And it goes back to like what I was saying earlier. I mean, we can hold signs outside, but if there's only like 50 of us or 100, I mean, 1,000, I mean, what's maybe 10,000? What's that going to do? Everybody else is just going to laugh at you. And then, you're going to have people sticking up for the system. So they might as well be they might as well be the politicians themselves because they'll be policing you too.
So with like all this, now with a lot of people now seeing like greed being a big issue, do you think this is going to take generations and generations? Um, because it's just going to be, the same like small group of people or a group of people that are just ignored by a higher power. Do you think that it's going to take a lot more like just a majority of the people to, stand up and say this is not the right way? Our lives, our work, everything like this is unjust. Do you think it's going to take a lot of people to do this? And do you think it's going to take a generation can you quantify like a number or time when you think it's going to change?
I couldn't quantify anything. I mean, it just depends on everybody else, I guess. I mean, you would think that everything that's happened over the last couple of years, that people would, especially with the pandemic, people would be like, man, we've had enough. Things need to change. I mean, people can barely afford to pay for rent. You think that people will be getting pretty fed up, but it's like I keep saying, like, when that whole situation with George Floyd went down, people were going nuts. Where's that same energy for the 9 to 5? You know, where is that? Where are those same people saying, I'm tired of going to work all day, spending 95% of my life doing something I don't want to do? Where are the people saying, I can't afford an apartment? You know, everybody's just shrugging their shoulders and they're just, I guess that's just life. So I don't know when it's going to change. How many people? It's going to take a lot of people, millions, if not billions.
What would be like a more optimal, like if we still had to work, what would be like a more optimal like model or schedule people would have to follow, like 20 hours a week, under that, or like maybe 30 hours a week? What do you think would be a more just work schedule, and just overall would make it more it would benefit more people than it does right now?
So I don't know like all the math behind it and all. I don't know how the system will work out with people only working 20 hours, but I think 20 hours would be pretty decent. I mean, that's about half the amount, um, depending on how you divide it up. Maybe you're only working 4 hours a day, or maybe you only work, I don't know, like 3 days out of the week. It would depend, you know?
Okay. And do you think that people would be more satisfied if things like work and healthcare and like things like that would, if there were better solutions to that? And do you think that even people who maybe like view life negatively, do you think that these socioeconomic changes would maybe change people's minds in thinking that life is like better?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm a pretty pessimistic guy. I mean, I'm pretty fed up with this life. I mean, but if it could go down to where you only work like 20 hours a day, healthcare wasn't such an issue, living situations, I could be in a way better mood than I am. But when this stuff just weighs on you every day, it's like it's kind of hard for you to have any type of hope, you know? So
Mm,
yeah, I could absolutely see things improving. You know, even just for your average Joe who isn't necessarily a pessimistic guy, you know.
definitely, definitely.
On a video of yours, you said that you worked two full-time jobs at one point. So, what kind of toll did that take on you mentally, physically, working two full-time jobs?
Yeah. So I'm 25 and I started doing that when I was around 21. So I did that on and off for about 4 years. I was working like 80, 90 hours a week for like a whole year or so. Um, it really stressed me out. A lot of sleepless nights. Um, you know, sleep deprivation can really play a toll on you. Nausea. There was times where I thought I heard somebody call my name or something. No crazy hallucinations or anything, but I think somebody's calling my name or said something. You're very fatigued, very worn out, very stressed out, very on edge. And I guess it doesn't really help that I was drinking pre-workouts as kind of my pick me up. So I would drink like two Bang energy drinks. A Bang energy drink has about 300 milligrams of caffeine. So I would drink like 600 milligrams of caffeine to keep myself perked up. Sometimes I would even drink like maybe like two and a half, maybe three. So I was taking these pre-workout beverages to keep myself up, drinking coffee throughout the entire day. Um, just working all the time. It really had me stressed out, and it really brought me to a dark place. Um, and that's right around the time when I was getting pretty fed up with doing it. And that's when I found Born in a Corrupt 9 to 5. And I was like, this guy makes a lot of sense. And that's when I started slowly like not working as much. I'm like, this is your whole life is just you working, and just to kind of do anything, you need money. Um, I was talking to my fiance about this earlier, and it's like, let's say you buy a nice TV, you get a TV that you want, but it's like you spend all your money on the TV. But now you don't have like the cable, you don't have Netflix, Hulu, so it's like it bums you out that you don't have those um, streaming platforms or whatever, right? But you try to talk to people about this, and it's like, oh, that's just being negative. You should be happy that you have the TV in general. And it's like, but you've worked so hard. You should be able to even enjoy that. You should be able to enjoy watching the show. Um, but yeah, it took a big toll on me mentally and physically. Um, I'm actually planning on seeing one of my doctors soon because my eye has been twitching for a long time now, and I think it might be like stress related. I used to have a lot of heart palpitations when I was working two jobs, just like fluttering in the chest. So it's definitely very unhealthy.
Why do you think that people have, I would say, a fetishization for the grind and going through pain? So why do you think there's like this fixation on just romanticizing it?
Um, well, I know for me, when I first started working a second job, there wasn't really a whole lot of options because I didn't go to college. I didn't have a trade. Um, I didn't really have any particular skill sets. So I was basically working jobs that either paid minimum wage or a few dollars more. Um, when I first started working a second job, I started making like $150 additionally a week. And then I kept working more and more hours to the point where I was making like an extra 400, maybe like $500 a week. So between the money and the caffeine, it can be a pretty big high, you know what I mean? But long term, it's not healthy. I don't know if I mentioned when I was going down the list of things that were negative side effects, but I used to get very nauseous because of lack of sleep. So, I mean, there's nothing to romanticize about making yourself physically and mentally ill over some currency.
What would your message be to, maybe young people right now, or even people at an older age who have found themselves in this predicament where they have to work two jobs, close to 90 hours a week, feeling sick, and really only the motivating factor is the money? What would your main message be to them?
Um, so me, I was working a second job because I wanted money for things. One of my big hobbies was I wanted to get tattoos, um, video games. I mean, I would pay off bills here and there, but I guess it's different if you don't have to do it. Like for me, I didn't have to do it. I was just kind of going out of my way because I wanted things. But at the same time, I like my living situation where I am. I kind of caught a deal with how much my rent costs. But like for example, if I lived alone, I might have to work a second job. Um, that's a tough one because it's not as easy as everybody says it is. Like people will tell you, well, just go move somewhere else. It's like, well, with what money? You need money to just even move your stuff. I mean,
Mhm.
where are you going to move? You need to do research. It's not like I said in one of my videos, it's not like, I don't know, somebody says, just move out. You look up Texas and then people are like, come to Texas. We have open apartments. They're so cheap. It's so easy. It's not. I mean, try finding an apartment in your own area, let alone like out of state, Then you also have to find another job. So I mean, the solution, I don't even know. The system is so messed up. It's like there aren't really many options.
Yeah, that's the big challenge, is that there really is no alternative to when you find yourself in that sort of challenge already. There really is no second option. It's really just find another job, make more money, and kind of wish for the best. And that's just a harsh reality that is going on in the US economic system.
And you
Yeah.
you
Oh, go ahead.
and you saying that, it just makes me think of, like, when people complain about the flaws of the U.S., it just makes me think of those people that say, "Oh, why don't you just move to another country?" And they just make it seem like it's so easy to just do that, like a snap of the finger, and then bam, you could do whatever it is. But there's more to it than that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it'd be like a few $1,000s just to move out, to a different town, but a different country. That's going to cost probably like, if you're moving all your stuff, I'm probably going to assume it's in the tens to thousands. And you'd be lucky as an average average Joe making either minimum wage or even a little bit more than minimum wage, you'd be lucky to save up $500. So, you know, it's not as easy as they say it is. And like I said, it's not like you live in America and you're like, man, I'm just gonna move to Australia, and people in Australia are like, come on, it's so easy, just come on over, and they're gonna give you a place to live, and they're gonna find a job for you. It's not easy. It's not as simple as just wishing something into existence, you know?
Yeah, yeah, it's not one, two, three. There's a lot of costs to everything.
And not just
Yeah.
that, there's a whole process when it comes to certain things. If you want to get certain things or whatever it may be.
Yeah, I mean, just to leave the country, I mean, you're gonna have to probably do a lot of immigration paperwork. You also have to find out if the country even wants you, you know? I mean, certain countries, like, if you're a felon, they don't even want you. So, maybe you made a mistake back in the day, and you try to go there and you saved up all this money, and let's say you go to Australia and you arrive at the airport and they're like, yeah, we don't let felons in here, so tough shit, turn your ass around.
So how much more time do you have?
I could probably go for like another 15 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to ask about this this character. We didn't bring him up yet. Ollie the old man.
Yeah. Ollie the old man, he was a character inspired by, I guess you could say, the baby boomers. Obviously, it's not all baby boomers or previous generations, but Ollie the old man is just like this guy who over exaggerates, hard work and like these quote unquote ethics and morals that these previous generations had. Like if you stepped out of line, like your parents beat the daylights out of you, or you hear these previous generations, not everybody, of course, but they'll tell you how, you guys that are Gen Z or millennials or whatever, you guys are just so lazy. Back in the day, we used to have to walk like a million miles just to get to work, and sometimes you didn't even get paid, but that's just how it was. And it's like they're always just coming up with these stories as to why you should just accept how shitty life is.
When
Yep.
you decide,
Oh, you go.
oh, okay. When you decide to make a more comedic video, what makes you decide, oh, this is the day to do it? And what makes you decide to add like that comedy to it as instead of you rant instead of you just doing your rant videos?
So some of my videos can be very serious and kind of take a doom and gloom approach. So I want to do something a little more uplifting while still getting the same point across. Um, One of my most recent characters, HR Harold, was actually inspired by a situation that actually happened to me at work. My boss is, very arrogant, very derogatory towards the employees, and he called out this employee for doing something incorrectly. And this employee is new, and he actually he suffered an injury. Kids were throwing bricks off a bridge, and this brick hit him in the head, so it caused like damage to his brain. And I'm assuming it caused damage to his brain. He's been out of work for like 2 years. Long story short, this new guy, he's at work. The guy who suffered the injury, he made a mistake, and he's kind of slow on the job. He's still picking things up, and my boss comes over. He's like, "Hey, you didn't do this," and the guy's like, "Oh, I didn't know." And my boss is like, "Well, how the fuck don't you know?" So he's getting all arrogant and disrespectful, and I've had my boss be arrogant to me and other employees. So I said, you know what? I don't really believe that going to HR is going to do anything, but I said, let's just see what we can do. And I went in there and I told them how I feel. And the HR basically told me to go fuck myself. So they told me basically, like, well, we'll look into it. We'll see what we can do. Just basically tell me to go fuck myself. So I was like, what if I could get mad and I could go rant about this, or what if I just made it into a funny character? So that's why I made HR Harold.
I thought that that was actually like a very funny like character that you put up because there's always like serious issues that go down in the workplace, but it feels like the HR people are always like the ones that they're trying to be likable, but at the same time they're usually the ones that also get sucked into like the politics of the workplace. And I think you portrayed HR Harold like exactly like the issue that goes on in HR offices all across the US.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was pretty hesitant to go in there because I was like, this ain't gonna, nothing's gonna be done anyways. I mean, in a realistic sense, what are they gonna do? What are they gonna fire the boss? I mean, he's more valuable than you are. So when it comes down to like common denominators, who do you think they're gonna terminate? It's not gonna be the person of high value. They're just gonna get rid of you. You know, they could care less.
You giving that explanation really brings it all together and gives me a new perspective on that. Skid, are you gonna make more videos with that character?
Yeah, I actually have quite a few ideas for videos I want to do. Um, not only just for HR Herald, but I got some Positive Peter videos coming up I want to do. I just bought some props actually on Amazon, so hopefully that can help add to the scenes. Um, I actually recorded a Positive Peter video, but I accidentally deleted it. Um, Positive Peter does the work for the Lord, and he goes and he's, the Lord is like, Peter, I don't approve of abortions, so you're going to take out the abortion clinic. So Peter brings in a backpack and sets off a bomb. So I accidentally deleted it, but I want to do it over again. So, you know, I know a few people actually were like, hey, no, I want to see that. So I'm like, okay, I got to make sure I do this. But HR Harold, my next video I want to do is like somebody who's being sexually harassed. So because that's a big issue too,
Mhm.
these issues happen in the workplace, and it's just like, again, common denominator. Who are we going to fire? The person being sexually harassed or the person doing the sexually harassing? So I don't know. I just have
That's
these
it.
topics. Oh, I just had these topics that float in my head, and it's like, I don't know. These things are just like, if things are going to be negative, I got to make a joke out of it. We got to laugh about it because it's like,
Yeah.
this gets old after a while. But go ahead, whatever, kid. I kind of interrupted you there.
Yeah, you bringing up about sexual harassment, especially men, I'd say, it is taken less seriously if a man were to go to HR and say that they got sexually harassed.
Oh yeah, like especially for where me and you were males, and like let's say the HR manager is a male, they're gonna be like, "What are you, gay or something?" Like,
Mm.
it's gonna be
Yeah.
looked at as a joke. But then again, it could also be a male manager harassing you, and you're a man. But that also goes into this perception that us men need to just shut our mouths and we got to be manly about it. And it's funny because, like, let's say your manager was a male and he was sexually harassing you, but then, like, you were acting accordingly to what this idea of a man is, and you like, you just went and knocked him out. What's going to happen?
Mm.
You're going to go to jail. They're going to be like, well, why didn't you tell somebody? And it's like, well, because everybody told you to just be a man about it.
Yeah, that's the whole thing with like just manhood and masculinity. Like, are we expected to act like men, but like when an issue happens and that challenges our humanity, what comes first? Is it the humanity, or is it our masculinity in this code that we have to follow? And I think that people are now coming to terms with, this is kind of, there are a lot more people saying, well, this is kind of silly. Like, what's up with this code? It's like chivalry, but at the end of the day, we're all humans, and that should matter most compared to our genders or wherever we socially identify ourselves as.
Yeah. Um, I seen a video a few days ago, and it was this guy at an airport, and this trashy woman is just talking all this nonsense, and she assaults him multiple times, and there's multiple people standing around watching. They don't do a thing. So
Mm.
this guy snaps. So he punches her or whatever, and all of a sudden, all these men come around, get in his face. You want to hit a lady? You can hit me. It's like, did everybody just was like everybody like looking around? Was everybody like on their phones or like I don't know, turned the other way? Did they not see that lady hit him? Like, what, you know, I mean, if I seen that, I wouldn't give a damn. If you're going to start problems, then you get what's coming to you. I mean, these double standards, oh, well, they're weaker than you and this and that. Well, then why do they have the courage to put their hands on you? It's just messed up. I mean, I'm not advocating for violence in any way, but if somebody puts their hands on you, I say it's free, it's all free game.
I saw that video too, and that was like one of my first instances was why isn't anyone, confronting the woman who's right in the face of the man and then pushes the security guy. And the security guy, he really has no other option. But I think people saw that and they said, well, the man kind of acted inappropriately. He was on job as well. So maybe he acted unprofessionally. But I think at the end of the day, you have to defend yourself, and it doesn't matter who it is. I think that as long as you use appropriate force, not excessive, just to defend yourself, I think that's totally fine. And I think that's fair game.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, fair force. I mean, I could see if the guy's like stomping her head in or something, then, maybe you want to intervene. But I mean, it's just comical because I've seen that throughout my life. One time I was in school, I was probably like 8th grade, and this girl was just messing with this guy. And, she, I think, like pushed him or spit in his face or something. And he got right up and just like punched her right straight in the face. And everybody was like, oh my God, did you see that? That guy just hit a girl. I'm like, nobody's seen what happened before. Was same situation. So it's like everybody has like what do they call those Oculate, what do they call them, the VR headsets? Did everybody have the VR headsets on and like take them off at the same time? It's like,
since we're talking about masculinity and double standards, what do you make of these guys? Me and Aceman, we talked about it in my last podcast episode about a guy such as Andrew Tate. These people that say, "Oh, men are losing their masculinity" and that kind of stuff. What do you make of people like that?
yeah, it's funny because you see the comments where people are like, "Oh, I'm so masculine," and being a man means you do this and you do that. And it's like, okay, Mr. Manly Man, why don't you go fight a shark with your bare hands? Why don't you go, attack a bear? If you're if you're so masculine and so strong, and it's like, it's a joke. I mean, it's an ego trip. It's such an ego trip. And I don't know what you guys' personal views on the afterlife or whatever, but for me, I see this as we're here and then we're dead and that's it. So these people acting like they're so important, their cocky, pretentious attitudes, it's like, you're just another human being. I mean, you being super masculine all the, I work out all the time and, uh, excuse me, I have like multiple women because I'm so masculine. It's like, get off it, get off that pedestal. You're not that important.
Yeah, I think it's just an ego trip, honestly, that they're doing. They just want to make themselves look cool and show off. But at the end of the day, who's really going to care? There's only a few people that probably care about it. And at the end of the day, it's more for them. I think it's more for their ego.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that I think about when it comes to your channel, aside from antinatalism and nihilism and calling out the system, is you're giving people humble pie, I'd say, because you're also giving a message that we're not as important as people, or not just, or a lot of people in general think they are, because people will be bragging, "Oh, I'm this or that," but there's been many years where we haven't been on this earth, and there's going to be, regardless of what your views are, and there's going to be many years when you're gone and you're not on this earth. So I don't get why people get all braggadocious, especially if it's like because I knew this one lady that worked for my company, and it's not like I've only been working there a few years. She's been working there way more than me. She's all braggadocious when the fact is, it's not like she made that much more money than me. She's acting all braggadocious about it.
Yeah, yeah, I know. You get these people that work at companies and they're like, I've worked here for 40 years and I've never
Yeah.
taken a day off. It's like, oh, that's cool. I'm sure they're still paying you like minimum wage or whatever. I mean, even if you made like $30 an hour, I mean, if they started you off at 30 and like 20 years later you're still making 30, I mean, if that's what you think is cool and if that's what you want to be braggadocious about, to each their own. I don't think I don't have any aspirations as far as making a company rich, and I don't want to romanticize me being a slave at work. But I mean, to each their own, if that's what gets you by.
It's
I'm trying to think of some things that have happened recently, but I'm kind of drawing a blank here.
Yeah. Yeah. Since you're, oh, now I thought of something to ask. Since you're a monetized channel, technically, have you made anything off of being monetized or not really?
So it's not really like a lot. I made my first $100. You have to make at least $100 to get paid out per month. You get paid every month. And I've been monetized for a few months, but you have to set up like a bank account and everything. You have to set up your information. And there were some loops I had to get through, but took a little while, but finally came through. Um, if you're a big channel, I'm assuming you're going to make a lot of money. There's people making like 40 grand a month. You got people making like 10 grand a month. I'm not making a lot. It depends on views. It depends on likes. Depends how long people watch your videos. So, you know, it's not like I'm making a whole lot or anything. And YouTube doesn't really support that narrative anyways. I mean, it's funny how like certain videos they'll not me particularly, but I've seen other YouTubers that do similar things and they'll get in trouble for saying something or get a video taken out down because the topic is inappropriate, but then you'll be on YouTube Shorts or whatever, and then there'll be the video of somebody twerking or something, and it'll have like thousands of views and likes, and it's
Mhm.
like, okay, well, why isn't that being taken down?
How has YouTube been with you and your content when it comes to what they deem it, whatever it may be, violates whatever their rules may be? How much have they tried to block your videos?
So I have like over 500 videos that I've done. They haven't really given me any crap for any of them, really. Um, I had a couple copyright claims because I used like certain clips from movies, and it's funny because like some videos I only use like just a few seconds, like 5 seconds, and they're like, yeah, you can't use that. I'm like, 5 seconds? Like that's not even the full clip. It's just like a guy saying like three words. So
Yeah.
I'm like, whatever. Yeah, no big deal. I'm like, whatever. I mean, at that time I wasn't really monetized, but it still said like, oh, if you're monetized, you can't use this. I'm like, okay. Um, my Positive Peter video where he goes into the bank and the guy's shooting the place up. Um, it said something like, yeah, this can't be monetized because it's deemed as inappropriate or something. I'm like, oh, okay, no big deal. It's like, I guess, I mean, if I was a female and I was half naked, they'd be cool with that though.
I think it comes down to like how much they see in selling too. And like, yeah, they have like a terms of service where like some topics are deemed like too controversial or inappropriate. But yeah, like if they had someone who was, half naked and like dancing or whatever, they probably would see that as more profitable. And I think that they'd favor it over, a video where someone's just speaking their mind on a topic that maybe seemed a little inappropriate or maybe like touchy. So I think it comes down to more like where they think they're gonna make money.
Yeah, yeah, I can definitely see the controversial thing, but at the same time, it's also kind of funny because you'll have these rap videos where people are talking about taking drugs and they'll have guns in the videos and talking about robbing people and doing all this, you know, precarious things. And it's like, oh, that's okay, but if a guy like me or you makes a video, oh man, that's inappropriate. It's like, oh, okay. I guess when a 5 year old or 10 year olds listen to a rap song where he's talking about shooting up the whole block because they're his enemies, I guess that's cool.
I think what factors into that is I was seeing some video on it. I don't know if you're familiar with the YouTuber Dosa Buckley.
No, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, but he made a video and he was talking about the Cardi B song and Megan Thee Stallion song WAP. And basically what the video was getting at is that YouTube, it seems like they play favorites, especially with artists such as a Cardi B, like established artists. The rules are way different and way more favorable for them. I think that's where it comes from, where where if it's a rapper saying how they're gonna shoot their ops or whatever it may be, because they're music artists and there just seems to be more leeway. And I don't remember everything he was saying in the video, but the main takeaway I got from it is that the rules when it comes to artists is different compared to people like us.
Yeah, that video was pretty explicit, and the lyrics are pretty explicit too. But my YouTube channel, my account, I'm over 18, so I don't know if like children can access that video. If they can, then there's definitely something wrong going on. But like I said, they don't care because it's profitable. So I think that's truly disgusting. I mean, if you're over a certain age, I mean, teach their own. Entertainment is entertainment. I like watching some crazy stuff too, you know. Like I listen to some pretty crazy death metal. I'll listen to some rap. I mean, but I'm able to discern that it's like entertainment, you know, where like younger people don't know that. So, and it's not like they have any warnings either, like warning before the video, oh, this is just entertainment, like this isn't reality.
And it's inconsistent because there was a Drake song. It was Dreams Money Can Buy. And if you go on it'll be the one that has the most views on it, I think. And if you click on it, it'll give you two warnings. Oh, whatever that message it says before you click on the video, it meaning it's so inappropriate. But it really, aside from the swearing, it's nothing because it's not like it was a video. It's just audio. It's just Drake swearing. That's it. So it's inconsistent when it comes to the YouTube rules, just in general.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen that once, but I mean, if it's just some like lyrics, just some swearing, that's some pretty backward standards that they got here on YouTube. But um, I don't know. I see a lot of stupid things online. I see a lot of, you know, pranks that people do in public where people can be getting hurt. People just promoting drug use, and it's just like it's incredible. But like Aceman said, you know, it's seen as profitable, so they don't really give a they could care less. But they don't want anything controversial because they don't want to have to deal with the what is it the back the backlash. Yeah, they don't have to deal with any backlash where you know YouTube's gonna have to deal with, oh, this person said this or that, oh, you know, and then you know YouTube has to come out and pretend they're sorry or something like that.
Yeah, that's the main concern I think for YouTube is definitely the backlash. But again, it comes down to the profiting thing, and you could have violent movie clips, music videos, whatever, and that could be seen as entertainment. But at the end of the day, there could be, topics that are inappropriate or maybe not child friendly, where YouTube may not even care, and you could still watch the videos because they know that that would be a big demographic that they would take away if they were to say this is an 18 or up video.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the whole YouTube thing is pretty messed up. I mean, you can't even have an opinion on this platform anymore. You know, just like when COVID was going down and people were just giving their own opinions, everybody was being shut down. Everybody was being silenced.
That was very alarming. I think that I think they need to be more open. I think for a lot of issues as or as along a lot of topics, as long as it I think as long as it's not like gonna invoke any sort of violence or anything like that, I think that they should allow it on.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the big issue I guess was they were trying to say it's like misinformation, but I mean there's a lot of misinformation on
Mhm.
the internet now, you know, and people would bring up these valid points, certain medical research, paperwork, and like all of a sudden it goes missing offline. So it's like it's very obvious they're trying to censor stuff.
And that's the thing about when they say misinformation, it's like they're determining what's the right what's the right way to view something, as opposed to having the viewer themselves make their own decision on what's the right thing or whatever they agree with, as opposed to YouTube, where it seems in certain things they want to decide what's the right thing, what's the right thing to say, or what's factual in their eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not the same organization, but I mean, here in the US, you got your little food chart, and on it, it has like, milk and orange juice. And it's like, yeah, those are pasteurized. They go through a heating process where they basically destroy any nutrients in it. And then like they load it up with sugar. Sugar is seen as a poison. It's very bad for you. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still participate in indulging in sugar, but there's been laws passed in certain states where, like, I think maybe even all states where, Burger King and McDonald's used to have like these huge sodas you could drink where it's like, I don't know, like 80 ounces of soda. And then, like, I think it was like even in New York, they're like, yeah, you can only have like 30 or 40 ounces, because all that sugar isn't good for people. So it's just kind of funny how the system is always like saying one thing but then doing another. This is okay for people to do, but that's not. Like you can smoke cigarettes, but certain states you can't even smoke weed. I don't know. They're they're just very hypocritical, this whole system. Everything about this life just doesn't even make any sense to me. It's like this is okay, but that's not. And you can like literally provide evidence where it's like, yeah, the thing you're saying isn't that's the thing that you're saying is bad isn't really that bad, but I don't know. People just believe whatever they're told, I guess.
That point you brought up makes me think of the pandemic and politicians like Nancy Pelosi, for example. They're saying stay home, but there was this whole thing when it was the prime of the pandemic, and we were ordered to stay home if we didn't have an essential job. And she was in a hair salon.
Yeah, yeah, I remember hearing that. Oh man, it's and you tell people that are like, I'm not like anti-vax or anything. I didn't get vaccine. I didn't get it because I didn't want to. I didn't trust the government. I mean, to each their own. You can do whatever you want, but it's like you get these hardcore like pro-vax, super vax people that are wearing like 8 masks and they're petrified and they're like, "See, you got to listen to the news." And it's like, "Yeah, well, what about Nancy Pelosi?" And they're like, "Don't listen to that. That's misinformation." It's like, it's like, okay, that's them trying to lie to you. They're trying to confuse you, and it's like, okay, yeah. Or like Obama, I think he had like a birthday party in Florida and he had like 500 people there or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that double standard. It's that double standard, and the people in power, they'll just take advantage of it every day.
I heard a few stories actually when the pandemic first rolled out. Um, one of them was in New Jersey. They were closing down the gyms, and this owner of a gym was infuriated because the strip clubs in New Jersey were still open. So he's like, "Well, why can we do this, but we can't do that?" He's like, and he said something like he was on a podcast or something, and he's like, so let me get this straight. I can't go to the gym, but I can go buy cigarettes, go to McDonald's, buy a 40, and then go to the strip club. He's like, what sense does that make?
Oh yeah, I remember that. That was a big story. I actually watched one of the interviews of that guy, and he made like all those um points where he's like, yeah, strip clubs are still open. you could go buy whatever you want at McDonald's, but he's like, why can't a gym? And he says like, and he made the point where it's like, if you go to a gym, and you exercise, that boosts your response to, contracting the virus. If you get it, you boost your respiratory and just your well-being. And he made that point, but still they're like, no, we're shutting you down. And I think there was a couple other gyms in like other states, and I saw like one guy got arrested at a gym because he had it open, and then they shut the water off, and then they shut the lights off. But I thought that was I thought that was pretty harsh.
Yeah, that actually happened to a guy a town over. He refused. He's like, I don't care. They're like, we're gonna fine you, and he's like, I don't care. I'm not shutting this gym down. He's like, I'm not buying into all this. And they, I guess the town eventually came and they put like locks on his door and everything.
That's crazy.
And then another one that was really interesting was this father had found his son dead. His son had blew his brains out with a shotgun or something like that. And when they went to the hospital, I guess they were like, listen, we're gonna write this off as he died from COVID. So your insurance can like cover it and the funeral expenses or whatever the case may be. I was like, that's crazy that they're lying about all these numbers of people dying of COVID, you know? Like you could be mauled by a bear and they're like, oh, he had COVID, he died. And then they're just hitting you with these numbers every day. And I'd like to talk about this stuff on my channel, but like I said, they'll just block me or, get rid of me. But it's like, if people want to get vaccinated, wear masks, do whatever the hell you want. I'm just saying, like, when things don't make sense, I mean, to me, my fiance said something like that one time. She's like, when things don't make sense, it's probably not true. And that just always sits with me. Because, during the whole pandemic, nothing made sense. And like, if this is so bad, shouldn't we all be in like hazmat suits? I mean, I get certain people are getting sick and people are dying. I genuinely believe that. But it's like, if it is so bad, like they say it is, shouldn't we be like in hazmat suits? Shouldn't we be like in like kind of like, I don't know if you guys ever seen Monsters Inc.
Oh
at
yeah.
the end when the guy has a sock on him and they have to like give him a shower and shave him
Yeah.
and everything.
Oh, the yellow guys, yeah.
But
Yeah, Born to Corrupt, he made a video during the pandemic, and you saying that made me think of that video he made. He was saying all this stops, like work. A lot of people are out of work because of the pandemic, but you know what didn't stop? The bills, though.
yeah, I think that's a big issue still going on right now with the college alleviation or something like that. Like I said, I don't really keep up with the news anymore because I really just can't stand listening to the buffoonery. But I think that's a big issue still going on. They want to have these people be relieved of their debt, because of the pandemic.
Yeah, the whole pandemic thing. I mean, yeah, the pandemic, but also the whole student loans. That's really brought up a big like discussion of whether it's fair or not. And some people think it's fair, other people don't think it's fair, but I think it's a disconnection because some students are going out there and they're inheriting a lot of loans, but they chose to go to college while other people who maybe already paid off their loans, it's not fair to them. But I think it comes down to like that disconnection of that some people are doing better off than other people who have to work double jobs and are really just piled up with debt.
Yeah. I don't really know anything about the whole situation. Like I said, I don't really pay attention to that. But yeah, I can see how it's unfair to people that actually paid it off, or people that had to work like 2, 3 jobs and struggle, and now they're basically giving the middle finger at this point. So yeah, I can see that being the issue.
The tough thing about this situation is that I feel if if you're a person that's gonna benefit from it, let's say those people that are complaining about their kids were going to college during this time when Joe Biden proposed this idea, they wouldn't be complaining about it. That's the thing about this whole situation. People are invested in it because of how it affects them as opposed to the bigger picture. Because I was seeing some dad complain about it to Elizabeth Warren, I believe. But I don't know. I don't know. I have doubts that he would be saying the same thing if his child was reaping the benefits of Joe Biden's idea.
Yeah, people are so full of it. I mean, it's laughable how full of it everybody is. You know, if it's them, they're like, oh yeah, I'm cool with it. But then if they were upset, they're like, oh, how dare those people, you know, get handouts.
Yeah.
It's like
Mhm.
everybody's just like so worried about what everybody else is doing. It's just, I don't know. I made a video recently. I don't know if you guys seen it, and I mentioned something like where like this lady was stealing something at Target, and everybody's getting all upset. I'm like, why the hell do they care? I mean, you know, these companies screw everybody over. These companies screw people over every day. I don't see why you're getting all upset, especially like if like an iPhone gets stolen. You know, an iPhone is made by some kid that's like 12 years old in a sweatshop. I mean,
Mhm.
you're mad that a phone got stolen from the company Apple? I mean, for what? I mean, I could see if somebody's purse gets stolen. Yeah, that's an individual. That's not a corporation that's taking advantage of people. Yeah, let's chase that guy down. But if somebody steals like a MacBook, a laptop, an Apple Watch, why the hell do you care? You know? But I don't know. It's just funny how some people have these like odd morals to me. And I guess it's also too like um if there was a serial killer on the loose, people like burn him, hang him. But then if your kid was like a rapist, sometimes you got people like, well, Jimmy's a little, you know, Jimmy's a good boy. You know, let's look at all the facts first. You know, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
There
that.
was a. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think it's just that bias in the morals. You know, people will only be like moral when they're justifying it, but when something contradicts that, they'll just choose not to.
Yeah,
And what I was thinking about when you just said that is there was a dog that I think it was attacking somebody, and it got to the point where the person had to shoot the dog in self defense. And this is the thing. This is this is how I feel about people. They can't. A lot of people can't look themselves in the mirror. A lot of people have the biggest bias that people have in life is towards themselves and the people around them. So this person, their response is, "Oh, the dog isn't like that." Well, clearly it was, since the dog got shot because the person felt that they were in danger, so they had the right to self-defend themselves.
yeah, yeah. Of course. I mean, you know, you got to do in that situation. You got to do what you got to do to protect yourself. Uh, I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous that somebody, you know, what are you going to do? Talk to that dog and ask, are you violent? Are you going to hurt me? I mean, you don't know. You got
Yeah.
to do what you got to do to protect yourself. But I don't mean to cut you guys short, but it's getting a little late here. You know, I appreciate you guys having me on. I don't know if there's anything that you guys wanted to say prior to this being over, or
I think
Oh,
that's
I do got a question when it comes to just like people's janky moral compasses. And this is something I'm gonna think about for a little bit. So a dog, if you were to say that you were to eat a dog, because some cultures eating dog is normal, but they'll have they'll say, like in American culture, that will repulse a lot of people, that other cultures outside the US they eat dog. But then they'll have no, like my relatives, for example, my cousin, he does hunting all the time, but he has a pet dog. So it's just interesting to me how people, and this is a point that you've said in your videos, why do certain forms of life why are they viewed more important compared to others?
yeah, I mean, you know, you will. People will eat rabbits. People hunt rabbits and eat them, but then they won't eat a dog. Some people hunt
Yeah.
squirrels. They'll eat like turtles. They'll eat like bugs, but then they're like, oh, you know, I'm not gonna eat a cat or a dog. I don't know. I guess it's just odd how we are.
I just want to say life is overrated 96. Thank you very much for having the conversation with the whatever kid and I. I was very grateful to hear a lot of your points tonight, and I'm going to start to watch a lot of your content and just to hear another perspective. I was very grateful to hear that tonight. And I wanted to say thank you
Yeah,
very much.
yeah. I appreciate that. I'd like to converse with you guys again. I think you guys have some interesting topics to talk about. The whatever kid. If after this you could send me the link to your podcasts because I'd like to go listen to them too.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, appreciate you taking time out of your day to talk with us. And me and Aceman, when we were talking last Saturday, we're just talking about like small creators, and someone like you don't have a big head. I just hit you up in the comments, and you said sure to do this interview. So we really appreciate you taking your time out of your day to do something like this when you could be. I know you have a cat, and then you could be spending time with your fiance as well. So much appreciated.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. I truly appreciate you guys watching. And I look forward to. I don't know if you guys are posting this to YouTube or.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. Too.
we're doing this to YouTube. Yep.
All right. Yeah. Just let me know. You can hit me up on Instagram or probably on Instagram because YouTube deletes the comments, and I'll put it on my community post so other people can watch it too.
All right. Yeah, sounds good. So, what should be the final word we all say together to close this out?
Mine would be just life ain't nothing about this life. None of us has to be here, so life is full of a bunch of nonsense. So I think we should just be enjoying ourselves.
Yeah. All right. Well, what do you think of this? On the count of three, we'll say life is whatever.
Yeah.
We'll
All right.
all together
Awesome.
say life is whatever. All right. 1, 2, 3. Life is
Life
whatever.
is whatever.
Life is whatever. All right, guys, take it easy.
Thank you very much.
All right.
All right. Take
Bye.
care.
Bye.